Look, Stacy said, stopping. First you run off with the mouth to tell them waltzes, and now you blaming little Willie for what you done? Why don't you just admit it was you? Hey, man, TJ exclaimed, grinning his easy grin. But then finding that the grin and the smooth words no longer worked, his face dropped. Oh, all right. So maybe what if I did say something about Miss Logan? I can't even remember saying nothing about it, but if both Little Willie and Clarence said I did, then maybe I did. Anyway, I'm real sorry about your mama losing her job, and all of us, including Claus, stared distastefully at TJ and walked away from him. Hey, wait, I said I was sorry, didn't I? He asked, following us. Look, what's a fellow gotta do anyway? Hey, y'all, look, this here is still old TJ. I ain't changed. Y'all can't just turn on me just 'cause. You're the one turned, TJ, Stacy called over his shoulder. Now leave us alone. We don't want no more to do with you. TJ, for the first time, comprehending that we were no longer his friend, stopped. Then standing alone in the middle of the road, he screamed after us. Who needs y'all anyway? I've been tired of y'all always hanging around you for a long while now. But I've been too nice to tell you. Should have known better. What I look like having a bunch of little kids around all the time and me here 14-year grown. We walked on, not stopping. Got me better friends than y'all. They give me things and treat me like I'm a man. And they white, too. His voice faded in the wind as we left him and heard no more. Chapter 9. Spring. It seeped unseen into the waiting red earth in early March, softening the ground for the coming plow and awakening life that had lain gently sleeping through the cold winter. But by the end of March it was evident everywhere. In the barn where 3 new calves bellowed and chicks of color of soft pale sunlight chirped. In the yard, where the wisteria and English dogwood bushes readied themselves for their annual Easter bloom, and the fig tree budding, producing the forerunners of juicy brown fruit for which the boys and I would have to battle with fig-loving Jack, and the smell of the earth itself. Rain-drenched, fresh, vital, full of life. Spring enveloped all of us. I was eager to be in the fields again, to feel the furrowed rows of damp, soft earth beneath my feet. Eager to walk barefooted through the cool forest, hug the trees, and sit under the protective shadow. But although every living thing knew it was spring, Miss Crocker and the other teachers evidently did not, for school lingered on indefinitely. In the last week of March, when Papa and Mr. Morrison began to plow the east fields, I volunteered to sacrifice school and help them. My offer was refused, and I trudged wearily to school for another week. I guess I won't be seeing much of y'all after next Friday, said Jeremy one evening as we neared his forest trail. Guess not, said Stacy. Be nice if our schools ended at the same time. You crazy, I cried, remembering that Jefferson Davis didn't dismiss until mid-May. Jeremy stammered an apology. I just meant we could still see each other. He was silent a moment, then brightened. Maybe I can come over to see y'all sometime. Stacy shook his head. Don't think Papa would like that. Well, I just thought, he shrugged, it'll sure be lonely without y'all. Lonely? I asked, with all them brothers and sisters you got? Jeremy frowned. The little ones, they too young to play with, and the older ones, Lily and Jean and R.W. and Melvin, I guess I don't like them very much. What you saying, asked Stacy? You can't not like your own sister and brothers. Well, I can understand that, I said soberly. I sure don't like them. But they're his kin. A fellow's got to like his own kin. Jeremy thought about that. Well, Lily and Jean's all right, I guess. She ain't so persnickety since Cassie stopped being her friend. He smiled a secret smile to himself. But that R.W. and Melvin, they ain't very nice. You ought to see how they treat TJ. He halted, looking up embarrassed, and was quiet. Stacy stopped. How they treat him? Jeremy stopped too. I don't know, he said, as if he was sorry he had mentioned it. They just don't do him right. How? Asked Stacy. Thought you don't like him no more. Well, I don't, replied Stacy defensively. But I heard he was running around with R.W. and Melvin. I wondered why. Them brothers of yours must be 18 or 19. Jeremy looked up at the sun, squinted, then glanced up his forest trail a few feet ahead. They brung TJ by the house a couple of times when Pa wasn't home. They treated him almost friendly, like when he left they laughed and talked about him, called him names. He squinted again at the trail and said hurriedly, I better go. See y'all tomorrow. Mama, how come you suppose R.W. and Melvin putting in time with TJ? I asked as I measured out 2 heaping tablespoons of flour for the cornbread. Mama frowned down into the flour barrel. Only 1 tablespoon, Cassie, and not so heaping. But Mama, we always used 2. That barrel will have to last us until Papa goes back to the railroad. Now put it back. As I returned 1 tablespoon of flour to the barrel, I asked again, "What you think, Mama? How come them Sims is running around with TJ?" Mama measured out the baking powder and gave it to me. It was a teaspoon less that we had been using, but I didn't ask her about it. It was running low, too. "I don't really know, Cassie," she said, turning to the stove to stir milk into the butter beans. "They may just want him around 'cause it makes them feel good." "When TJ's around me, he don't make me feel good." "Well, you told me Jeremy said they were laughing at TJ behind his back. Some folks just like to keep other folks around to laugh at them. Use them." "I wonder how come TJ don't know they laughed at him. You suppose he's that dumb?" "TJ's not dumb, Cassie. He just wants attention. But he's going after it the wrong way." I was going to ask what use TJ could possibly be to anyone, but I was interrupted by a little man running into the kitchen. "Mama," he cried, "Mr. Jameson just drove up." He had been in the barn cleaning the kitchen coop with Christopher John, and stubby particles of straw still clung to his head. I grinned at his mussed appearance, but didn't have time to tease him before he was gone again. Mama looked at Big Ma, question in her eyes, and followed Little Man outside. I decided that the cornbread could wait and dashed after him. "Girl, get back in here and finish mixing this cornbread," ordered Big Ma. "Yes'm," I said. "I'll be right back." Before Big Ma could reach me, I was out the door, running across the yard to the drive. Mr. Jameson touched his hat as Mama approached. "How you doing, Miss Logan?" he asked. "Just fine, Mr. Jameson," Mama answered. "And yourself?" "Fine, fine," he said absently. "Is David here?" "He's over in the east field," Mama studied. "Mr. Jameson." "Anything wrong?" "Oh, no, just wanted to speak to him." "Little man," Mama said, turning, "go get Papa." "Oh, no, don't do that. I'll just walk over there if that's all right. I need the exercise." Mama nodded, and after he had spoken to me, Mr. Jameson crossed the yard to the field. Little man and I started to follow after him, but Mama called us back and returned us to our jobs. Mr. Jameson did not stay long. A few minutes later, he emerged from the field alone, got into his car, and left. When supper was ready, I eagerly grabbed the iron bell before Christopher John and Little Man could claim it, and ran onto the back porch to summon Papa, Mr. Morrison, and Stacy from the field. As the 3 of us washed up on the back porch, Mama went to the end of the porch where Papa stood alone. "What did Mr. Jameson want?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Papa took the towel Mama handed him, but did not reply immediately. I was just inside the kitchen dipping out the butter beans. I moved closer to the window so that I could hear his answer. "Don't keep anything from me, David. If there's trouble, I want to know." Papa looked down at her. "Nothing to worry about, honey. Just seems that Thurston Wallace been in town talking about how he's not going to let a few smart colored folks run his business. Said he's going to put a stop to this shopping at Vicksburg, that's all." Mama sighed and stared out across the plowed field to the sloping pasture land. "I'm feeling scared, David," she said. Papa put the towel down. "Not yet, Mary. It's not time to be scared yet. They're just talking." Mama turned and faced him. "And when they stop talking, then maybe it'll be time. But right now, pretty lady," he said, leading her by the hand toward the kitchen door, "right now I've got better things to think about." Quickly, I poured the rest of the butter beans into the bowl and hurried across the kitchen to the table. As Mama and Papa entered, I slid into the bench beside Little Man and Christopher John. Papa beamed down at the table. "Well, looky here," he exclaimed. "Good old butter beans and cornbread. You better come on, Mr. Morrison." "You too, son," he called. "These women folks done gone and fixed us a feast." All right, we're finished. Go ahead and answer the questions on the Google form.